The Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander. Book 2, The Black Cauldron. Chapter 4, In Shadow of Dark Gate. The night passed heavily, and it was nearly time for Elidir's turn at guard when Taran heard a rustling in the shrub. He raised his head abruptly. The sound stopped. He was unsure now that he had really heard it. He held his breath and waited, poised and tense. Prydain, whose ears were as keen as his eyes, had also noticed it and was at Taran's side in an instant. There was, it seemed to Taran, a flicker of light. A branch cracked nearby. With a shout, Taran swung up his blade and leaped toward it. A golden beam flashed in his eyes, and a squeal of indignation struck his ears. "Put down that sword!" Eilonwy cried. "Every time I see you, you're waving it around or pointing it at somebody." Taran fell back dumbfounded. As he did, a dark figure bounded past Elidir, who sprang to his feet, his blade unsheathed and whistling through the air. "Help! Help!" howled Gurgi. "Angry Lord will harm Gurgi's poor tender head with slashings and gashings." He scuttled halfway up a pine tree, and from the safety of his perch, shook a fist at the astonished Elidir. Taran pulled Eilonwy into the protection of the grove. Her hair was disheveled, her robe torn and mud-stained. "What have you done?" he cried. "Do you want us all killed? Put out that light!" He seized the glowing sphere and fumbled vainly with it. "Oh, you'll never learn how to use my bauble," Eilonwy said with impatience. She took back the golden ball, cupped it in her hand, and the light vanished. Prydain, recognizing the girl, put his hand anxiously on her shoulder. Princess, you should not have followed us." "Of course she shouldn't," Taran put in angrily. "She must return immediately. She's a foolish, scatterbrained—" "She's uncalled and unwanted here," said Elidir, striding up. He turned to Prydain. "For once the pig boy shows sense. Send the little fool back to her pots." Taran spun around. "Hold your tongue. I have swallowed your insults to me for the sake of our quest, but you will not speak ill of another." Elidir's sword leaped up. Taran raised his own. Prydain stepped between them and held out his hands. Enough, he ordered. "Are you so eager to shed blood?" "Must I hear reproof from a pig boy?" retorted Elidir. "Must I let a scullery maid cost me my head?" "Scullery maid?" shrieked Eilonwy. "Well, I can tell you—" Gurgi, meantime, had clambered cautiously from the tree and had loped over to stand behind Taran. "And this," Elidir laughed bitterly, gesturing at Gurgi, "this thing! Is this the black beast that so alarmed you, dreamer?" "No, Elidir, it is not," murmured Prydain, almost sadly. This is Gurgi the warrior!" Gurgi boldly cried over Taran's shoulder. Yes! Clever, valiant Gurgi, who joins Master to keep him from harmful hurtings." "Be silent," Taran ordered. "You've caused trouble enough." "How did you reach us?" Prydain asked. "You are on foot." "Well, not really," Eilonwy said. "At least not all the way. The horses didn't run off until a little while ago." "What?" cried Taran. "You took horses from Caer Dallben and lost them?" "You know perfectly well they're our own horses," declared Eilonwy. "The ones Gwydion gave us last year. And we didn't lose them. It was more as if they lost us. We only stopped to let them drink, and the silly things galloped away. Frightened, I suppose. I think they didn't like being so close to a Newfound, though I'll tell you truthfully, it doesn't bother me in the least. In any case," she concluded, "you needn't worry about them. The last we saw, they were heading straight for Caer Dallben." "And so shall you be," Taran said. "And so shall I not," cried Eilonwy. "I thought about it a long time after you left, every bit as long as it took you to cross the fields. And I decided, it doesn't matter what anybody says, fair is fair. If you can be allowed on a quest, so can I. And there it is, as simple as that." "And it was clever Gurgi who found the way," Gurgi put in proudly. Yes, with whiffings and sniffings. Gurgi does not let gentle princess go alone. Oh, no. And loyal Gurgi does not leave friends behind," he added reproachfully to Taran. "Since you have come this far," Prydain said, "you may await Gwydion, although how he will deal with you two runaways may not be to your liking. Your journey," he added, smiling at the bedraggled princess, "seems to have been more difficult than ours. Rest now and take refreshment. Yes, yes, Gurgi cried. Crunchins and munchins for brave, hungry Gurgi. That's very kind and thoughtful of you, said Ilonwe with an admiring glance at Adeon. Much more than you can expect from certain assistant pig keepers. Adeon went to the stock of provisions while Eladir strode off to his guard post. Taran sat down wearily on a boulder, his sword across his knees. It's not that we're starving, Ilonwe said. Gurgi did remember to bring along the wallet of food. And yes, that was a gift from Gwydion too, so we had every right to take it. It's certainly a magical wallet, she went on. It never seems to get empty. The food is really quite nourishing, I'm sure, and wonderful to have when you need it. But the truth of the matter is it's rather tasteless. That's often the trouble with magical things. They're never quite what you'd expect. You're angry, aren't you? Ilonwe went on. I can always tell. You look as if you'd swallowed a wasp. If you'd stop to think of the danger, Taran replied, instead of rushing off without knowing what you're doing. You're a fine one to talk, Taran of Caer Dallben, said Ilonwe. Besides, I don't think you're really as angry as all that, not after what you said to Eladir. It was wonderful the way you were ready to smite him because of me. Not that you needed to. I could have taken good care of him myself. And I didn't mean you weren't kind and thoughtful. You really are. It just doesn't always occur to you. For an assistant pig keeper, you do amazingly well. Before Ilonwe could finish, Eladir gave a shout of warning. A horse and rider plunged into the grove. It was Fluider. Behind him galloped Dolly's shaggy pony. Breathless and with his yellow hair pointing in all directions, the bard flung himself from the steed and ran to Adeon. Make ready to leave, he cried. Take the weapons! Get the pack horses moving! We're going to Caer Cauldron! He caught sight of Ilonwe. Great villain! What are you doing here? I'm tired of being asked that, Ilonwe said. The cauldron, cried Taran. Did you seize it? Where are the others? Where's Dolly? Here, where else? Snapped a voice. In another instant, Dolly flickered into sight astride what had seemed to be an empty saddle. He jumped heavily to the ground. Didn't even take time to make myself visible again. He clapped his hands to his head. Oh, my ears! Gwydion orders us to fall back immediately, the bard went on in great excitement. He and Call are with Morgant. They'll catch us up if they can. If not, we all rally at Caer Cauldron. While Eladir and Adeon hurriedly untethered the animals, Taran and the bard packed the store of weapons. Keep these, Fluider ordered, pressing a bow and quiver of arrows into Ilonwe's hands. And the rest of you, arm yourselves as well. What happened? Taran asked fearfully. Did the plan fail? The plan? Fluider asked. That was perfect. Couldn't have been better. Morgant and his men rode with us to Dark Gate. Ah, that Morgant! What a warrior! Not a nerve in him. Cool as you please. You might have thought he was going to a feast. The bard shook his spiky head. And there we were, on the very threshold of a new vision. Oh, you'll hear songs about that. Mark my words. Stop yammering, ordered Dolly, hastening up with the agitated pack horses. Yes, the plan was fine, he cried angrily. It would have gone slick as butter. There was only one thing wrong. We wasted our time and risked our necks for nothing. Well, one or the other of you makes sense, Ilonwe burst out. I don't care about songs or butter. Tell us straight out, where is the cauldron? I don't know, said the bard. Nobody knows. You didn't lose it, Ilonwe gasped, clapping a hand to her mouth. No! Oh, you pack of ninnies! Great heroes! I knew I should have gone with you from the beginning. Dolly looked as if he were about to explode. His ears trembled. He raised himself on tiptoe, his fists clenched. Don't you understand? The cauldron is gone! Away! Not there! That's not possible, Taran cried. Don't tell me it isn't possible, Dolly snapped. I was there. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. I went in first, just as Gwydion ordered. I found the Hall of Warriors. No trouble at all. No guards, in fact. Aha, think I, this'll be easier than whistling. I slipped in. I could have done it in full view in broad daylight. And why? Because there's nothing to guard. The platform was empty. Arn has moved the cauldron, Taran interrupted. There's a new hiding place. He's locked it up somewhere else.
Don't you think I have the wits I was born with? Dolly retorted. That was the first thing that came into my head. So I set off again. I'd have searched Aron's own chamber if I'd had to, but I hadn't gone 6 paces before I ran into a pair of Aron's guards. Or they ran into me, the clumsy oafs, Dolly muttered, rubbing a bruised eye. I went along with them a little way. By then, I'd heard enough. It must have happened a few days ago. How or who, I don't know. Neither does Aron. You can imagine his rage. But whoever they are, they got there ahead of us. They did their work well. The cauldron has gone from Anuvid.
But that's wonderful, said Eilonwy. Our task is done, and it cost us nothing more than a journey. Our task is far from done, said the grave voice of Adaon. He had finished loading one of the pack horses and had come to stand beside Taran. Ellidyr, too, had been listening closely. We've lost the glory of fighting for it, Taran said, but the important thing is that Aron has it no longer. It is not so easy, Adaon warned. This is a stinging defeat for Aron. He will do all in his power to regain the cauldron. But there is more. The cauldron is dangerous in itself, even out of Aron's grasp. What if it falls into other evil hands? Exactly what Gwydion himself said, Fluider put in. The thing has somehow got to be found and destroyed without delay. Gwydion will plan a new search from Caer-Cadairn. It would seem our work has just begun. Mount your steeds, Adaon ordered. We cannot overburden our pack animals. The Princess Eilonwy and Gurgi will share our own horses. Isomak will bear only me, Ellidyr said. She has been trained so from a foal. I would expect that, being a steed of yours, Taran said. Eilonwy will ride with me. And I shall take Gurgi with me on Leluger, Adaon said. Come now, quickly. Taran ran to Melendlis, leaped astride, and pulled Eilonwy up with him. Dolly and the others hastened to mount. As they did, savage cries burst from either side of them, and there was a sudden hiss of arrows.